Hey everyone, welcome to the Big Fitness Show, episode 41. This is the episode where I convinced Big Mike Burns to spend $3,000 on a new Mac. And here he is.
Yeah,
The man
right.
who I just emptied his bank account out. It's the end of the year, everybody. End of the year. It's time to get those write-offs. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Yeah, our conversation prior to this was very good. It was very helpful, and I was able to use you as the guinea pig to make my purchases less than $3,000, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, and it's the end of the year. This episode is all about the checklist for the new year, but
Yeah.
it doesn't just have to do with fitness. It has a lot to do with things we talk about on pre and post production
Mhm.
meetings and stuff. Really, just trying to shore up businesses, shore up personal things, and make sure that you start 2024 on the right foot with the least amount of distractions, with the least amount of stress, and it's a time for kind of, I guess, reassessment, reflection. So it's about 2 weeks at the time of this recording left in 2023. So I
Mhm.
think it's a good time, kind of like you do your taxes at the end of the year. You do all the other stuff business related. It's good to just kind of take stock what everything you're doing, and more importantly, what you're going to be doing in 2024.
Totally, totally. And I think we were talking about this episode and coming up with things to do to get ready for the new year. We're not big fans of waiting for the new year, but I think it is a useful tool. We've talked about it in the past about it being a useful tool as a motivator to reevaluate. Don't want to wait. Don't wait till the new year. Whatever you're working on, start it now, but also using it as a tool to get you set up for success in the 2024 and getting your year set up so you can kind of break it up. And there's some things I want to talk about today that I do to help me get set up for success. And so I think it's can help other people. I didn't come up with any of these things. I mean, I've just adopted them from other people. But one of the things that we're doing differently for both of us is taking stock with a Big Fitness Show and figuring out how we can increase the production quality. And so, just for those watching YouTube right now, we are using StreamYard for the first time to do this. And we have new editing capabilities, new on the fly things that we can do to switch things around to hopefully up level the production quality of what we're doing here. We can switch to a single camera of me. We can go to a single camera of Stevie, and then we can come back to just the two up shot. And so we're excited about that. But this just kind of falls right in line with this taking stock of where you're at and getting yourself prepared for how you can move forward and what makes sense and what you can do moving forward. But I just wanted to show off the StreamYard stuff real quick.
You did a great job with the switching. I let everybody know we're using a free version of StreamYard too. So a little bit of behind the scenes, we were trying to use Ecamm because that for a while was the standard bearer as far as switchers and studio production things. And StreamYard has really upped their game because last time I tried it, it didn't have this kind of video quality or production capability. So I'm sorry, StreamYard. I'll happily become an affiliate now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with what we've found with StreamYard real quick this week. So, but that's just a cool thing that we're working on that helps us figure out what we need to do. But I think that would be the first thing that I would say when you're prepping for the new year. Did you like that transition there? That was pretty good, huh?
I like that.
The first thing that you need to do when prepping for the new year, and this is something that I do, is I take stock of where I'm at. So I look back to what happened in 2023. And so I'm looking at right now, this is part of my process. In the month of December, every year, I take a look at, okay, what have I accomplished over the last year? What have I done? The year, like I said, it's you don't wait, start now, but it's good to have like a measuring stick to see where you're at, right? And so for me, in 2023, I'm looking back at, okay, these were the goals that I set to accomplish. Did I actually accomplish those? And if I didn't, how far or how close did I get to those? So I look at where am I at right now? I make a list of all the things that I've done, accomplished. I go back through because I keep tabs throughout the year of projects that I want to complete and things like that. And so then I take stock of it and kind of give myself some kudos for all the things that I did do, right? So that I can use that and become a little more optimistic for what I'm going to accomplish next year. Because a lot of times you look back on your year and you're like, man, what did I even do? You and I talk about it all the time. Well, you'll pump out 3 or 4 videos in a day. And at the end of the day, you're like, I didn't even do anything. So you got to give yourself a little bit of credit. And so for me, that would be like the first piece of the checklist is let's take stock of where we're at right now and go and look back of what we've accomplished over the year.
Yeah. My wife uses a different term for that. She says that I need to give myself grace. You need
Yeah.
to give yourself a little bit of a break and not be so hard on yourself. And that's just there's a way to be, and that's something I'm going to try to change in 2024, especially after this kind of year that I had. Just not dying was an accomplishment,
Sure.
so a huge one. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, human nature is so weird that you can either I think there's no in between for a lot of people. Either you can make excuses for why you can't do anything, or you can
Mhm.
be so hyper accountable that you beat yourself up no matter how good you do. So, yeah, I'd rather err on the side where we're at and kind of really always got kind of be rough on ourselves because it's easier to pull back than to motivate a lazy person. So I
Sure.
look at that. It's same thing with fitness. If you're not going to want to work out, you're already losing the battle. If you do want to work out, and you just have no idea what you're doing, yeah, we can work with that because at least you want to be there.
Right.
And that's a lot of life outside of fitness too. On the assessment side, the last 2 weeks of the year are very important for me. The last month actually is really, really important to not only figure out what you need to add as far as to increase the quality of whatever you're doing, but more importantly, what to subtract
Mm.
So maybe we can start with that because once you figure, it's kind of like figuring out, like my wife is trying to figure out what's the next chapter, what's going to fulfill her, your wife as well. We're always trying to figure that out as well.
Yeah.
Figuring out what you do not want to do is even more important than when you figure out what you want to do, because how else are you going to figure it out until you take the journey to figure out what's not working for you?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, really, when you're taking that assessment of looking at what has served you over the last year, and what has served you in a good way, what has served you in a bad way, what has bring you down, and that's a great way to figure out what to take out. I mean, like this is obviously a fitness podcast, and we're focused on helping people live healthier. And there's so many self-destructing behaviors that we do and things that happen that destroy where we're going and what we're trying to do. And so, really figuring out what we're going to take out of it is yeah, I feel like that's paramount because what's the expression you can't where you something like take your foot off the brakes, right? Like the fastest way to get where you're going is take your foot off the brake, so I don't know if I'm saying that expression the right way, but the things that keeps your foot on the brake is those negative things that are you need to cut out of your life, and be in a real assessment of what that is yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there.
Yeah. Can we, or you can cut the brake lines and then you're never going to stop
Yeah.
without it. But that's never a good idea either. You know what? Talking about subtracting, like I think the number one thing, fitness
Yeah.
wise, especially,
Yep.
but in anything you want to do, I've said it before about being careful who you talk about and share your dreams with, who you share your workout goals, your fitness goals, anything like that. And
Sure.
you're saying is the best of all. And I experienced this over the past week of
Mm,
starting to listen to somebody that I shouldn't have been listened to about certain things when it comes to the
sure.
brand and trying to grow the channel. So if you can just recap that amazing saying, because no matter if it's finances, working out, fitness, marriage, buying a home, whatever it is, job, career, business, I'm going to let you do it because you put it much better than I do. Yeah, you'll do better. I know you'll do better in the whole brake gas car thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, quite simply, it is if they don't have the life that you want, then why are you listening to them? Don't take advice from people who don't have the life that you want. And so like that's one of the things for you and I that works so well is that you're such a good creator on YouTube and you do so much that I get advice from you. But if I sit down and talk to somebody who's not on YouTube, it's not going to do me any good because why would I listen to someone who is not trying to create content on YouTube and is not trying to do the things that we're trying to do within the podcast on how to be better, right? Like you just don't listen to people. Like for years, I listened to people telling me what to do in my career that was so counterproductive to what I actually wanted to do. Like family members of mine would always question my aspirations of being a pro wrestler, and I would let it get in my head, and then there would like be this back and forth, and I would let it affect how I approached being a pro wrestler, when really I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I should have been talking to other pro wrestlers about what to do, And so, yeah, you don't want to listen to people who don't have the life you want. And that goes with everything. If you, in the fitness world, if you went to a overweight person, you're probably not going to get much diet tips and much fitness and nutrition tips from someone who is obesely overweight. Now, if they're on the path and they're living the lifestyle and they've lost some weight and they've been able to show it, okay, fine. Then you might get some good tips from them. And I really feel like experience is the best person, best teacher, and then the best example for you to then become a teacher of how to lose weight, right? Like I've never been super overweight. I've never had a lot of weight to lose. The most I've ever had to lose would be maybe 15, 20 pounds, which to some people is a lot of weight, but I'm a big guy. So it's not it's relative, right? But I've never had to lose 100 pounds. So I wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't know the best. I wouldn't be able to speak from experience on losing 100 pounds.
I think empathy is the word you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? So when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
telling somebody.
Definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to get it. But so the point of what I'm getting at is, like you were saying, don't listen to people that don't have the goals. So if you look at this year and you look at where you were affected by the people that you're with, who were you listening to that helped you stay where you're at? Who were you listening to that made it so that you didn't progress? And now we need to cut those people out and start listening to new people. And whether that's people that you can have in your circle, whether that's books, that's podcasts, that's me and Stevie, we hope to try to be a positive influence in your life by you taking the time to listen to this. If we're not, though, cut us out.
Or even if we are and you just don't have the time and you can be productive without listening to this, go for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny you say about the, were you going to finish up? I'm sorry.
No, I was done.
Hey, it's funny we talk about that because human nature, and especially in pro wrestlers, are the worst at this. 99 people could tell you the most encouraging stuff, and then one person who you can't convince that you're doing something good or you're on the right path and wants to bring you down. We tend to always pay attention to that. And there's some subconscious thing you need to retrain yourself, because I told you I just did it not too long ago. I know for a fact that I know what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to kind of think it through out loud. And I've talked to you about it, and we're going to get kind of honest. And I think part of this episode will be some of the things that we may want to cut out, cut down, improve on, and what we're going to share with you. And I know you said some of the listeners and viewers really like that part where we share the behind the scenes and our struggles with how we kind of juggle all this stuff, or we make our mistakes in our business and brands and try to rectify them.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, and I think figuring out what you need to cut, and then where you want to go. If we're making a checklist of things that we need to get ready to crush 2024, it sounds so cliche, but you want to get yourself ready. And some of the things that we need to do, for me, like I take stock and I look at where I was, I look at where I've been, I look at what I accomplished over the last year, and if I'm happy with that, then I'm like, okay, let's look at those goals. And so I will literally take a day and write down goals. And so first piece of the checklist, take an assessment of where you're at, figure out what you've done over the last year. Next piece is, okay, let's think about where we want to go. Now we take a whole day where we sit down and we think about, what do we want to accomplish this next year? Where, I'm sure you've heard it before. Where do you see yourself in a year? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? You gotta have those end goals to then work backwards. And so this is the process that for whatever goal I'm trying to achieve, it's like, okay, what's the end goal? I want to have, let's say I want to be a weight goal. I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay. How do I lose 10 pounds? That's a cool goal, but I want to how do I get there? So now we got to work backwards and then implement the daily habits to get there. So I will take virtually an entire day to just write down my goals, and I'll put music on and eliminate all distractions so that I can just write down goals, and I'll make a big list, and I'll spend a good 30 minutes to an hour where I'm just writing and not having any distractions and then writing down everything too. Everything from, I want to lose a little weight. I want to grow my YouTube channel. I want to sell more X endurance product, to I want to have a better relationship with my wife. I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to take my family on a vacation. Literally everything that I want to do, I'll write down as a goal or a task or a project or something that I want to complete. And then I go through and I'll sort those after that, and then figure out what's the priority, which ones make the most. I'll kind of divvy them into different categories. So there's the family category, which is my ultimate priority. Then I have a fitness category and my goals that I want to accomplish in fitness. I have a career category that I want to accomplish in my career, finances, friends, all that kind of stuff. And I break it up and I'm like, okay, how can I move the needle on all of these different tasks, and then figure out a process to work from there. So that's what I do when I'm evaluating and getting myself prepared for the next year of hitting my goals and accomplishing all the things that I want to do.
Now, let me ask you a question. This is going to be more like me trying to get advice from you, because
Yeah,
as I look, that's sort of why, like, I have stream of consciousness. I can be creative kind of on the fly. Pro wrestling
sure.
taught me to call audibles in the ring, and kind of like you too. All right, the crowd's like this. I can kind of do this. So I can adapt.
Mhm.
But adaptability sometimes, when you have that trait or that skill, can
Mhm.
hurt you, because you don't feel like you have to plan, because you can just always adapt to what's going on. I'm experiencing that with the YouTube channels,
Sure.
multiple ones, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. And then also the website and all these other things, and juggling. And once again, family, God and family are number one and two, 1A, 1B for me and you as
Right.
well. And
Right.
then looking into how I can use the other things, business, brand, everything I'm doing financially, to honor those two things.
Mhm.
But I kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and that's unfortunate, because it's just the wild animal of content creation on YouTube and social media. No
Sure.
excuse, but
Sure.
you're kind of looking at trends, especially with the wrestling channel, to try to figure out what you can put up there to get the most amount of watch time, views, and traction. So my
Yeah.
my question based on that is, like, besides the fact that I have that vidIQ with the content generator and the daily ideas, I'm going to start utilizing that. What would you say? How do you structure? Is a great word. How do you structure things like that? They're spider webbed all over the place in my situation.
Yeah. To me, like, I have found that I'm very similar to you, is I fly by the seat of my pants a lot of times, and I can be somewhat productive when I do that, because I can be all over the place because I have my fingers in different things, and I can bounce back and forth very, very well. But I found that when I have a clear end goal, and then I set those daily tasks that I need to do to get to that end goal, I'm more productive. I get more done and I feel more accomplished because I set targets, right? So, for example, let's say that, like we've talked about this before, but with your wrestling analysis channel, if you have a goal, or the fitness channel, let's use your fitness channel. Let's say your goal is to get to 100,000 subscribers. Okay, you're close, and you've been close for a little while. You're putting out some content to get there, but how do we up that subscriber count? What do we need to do? Well, you need to put out more content, right? You need to put out more content. You need to put out more engaging content so that people subscribe and they like what you're doing. Well, how do you put out more content? Let's go backwards. We put out more content by recording the content, editing the content. So you go backwards from there. Well, how do I record more content? I make it a habit. So every day when I get up and I work out, I'm recording some kind of content, or I do my workout, and then immediately after I record that content. And then you set up your ritual to get things done. And so with the content production piece of this, you invested this last year in a new computer. We were just talking about that. For me, you have been able to be way more prolific with your content now, because it's just eliminated it. You cut the brakes, right? You've eliminated things that were getting in your way. And so now you figured out, okay, you're in a rhythm to where you're able to pump out consistent content. You can do it relatively quickly, and there's nothing getting in your way. So now let's think, well, what needs to happen to get to that 100,000 subscribers? Consistency. how do we stay consistent with it? What do we have to do to make sure that we're staying consistent with it? So it's taking that one goal. The goal is 100,000 subscribers on Stevie Richards Fitness. What are all the things that we need to do to get there? And if you're not taking action to get there. And so what I'll do, because like you have a bunch of different things. I have family, X Endurance, YouTube, Big Fitness Show, Team Illinois Volleyball. I have my wrestling, and then I have my homestead, doing the gardening and things. And it's like,
you're such a lazy son of a bitch. You know
well, there's just a few things we got to do, but it's setting those targets in each one of those categories and then figuring out how do all of those categories go together and how do you create these daily habits that help you get where you want to go. But the thing is, and why this checklist, in my opinion, is so important to prepare you, is you got to take a day, take some time to figure out where you want to go. Because if you and I were going on vacation, which would be awesome, but if we didn't know where we were going, we just drive around aimlessly, right? And so I feel like there's so many people that don't have a clear idea in mind of where they want to go. And it's taking that time, figuring out where you want to go in each of the different areas, and then working backwards and then setting those targets. And so if we wanted to put a target on it, for the same example of your YouTube channel, let's say you want to have 100,000 subscribers by January 1st. And as the day of recording this is December 14th. So we got 15, 16 days, 17 days to get you there. Over 17 days, we could then go into the analytics of the channel and see how many of your videos are getting new subscribers. And if you're getting 10 new subscribers per video and you're 1,000 away, how many videos do you have to do over the next 17 days to get you to 100,000 subscribers, right? And so you could do the math, figure it out. But if you don't know that, then you're just kind of throwing shit at the wall and see if it sticks. And with other goals, fitness goals, it's if you want to lose 100 pounds, okay, healthy weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds a week. It's going to take you a little while to get to the point where you're going to lose 100 pounds. You could lose it unhealthily faster, probably, yes, but you got to work backwards. And so I hope that answered your question with, I think the taking that, figuring the end goal, and then working backwards to find those daily habits.
No, it definitely did. And what you just kind of sparked in my mind, I think the reason I do believe the reason I always feel like I didn't accomplish anything is because I didn't set up what I needed to do that day.
Sure.
You see what I mean? So like if I said, hey, tomorrow I want to record 2 videos, one's going to be fitness, one's going to be the tech one, that one is going to be the X. And I knew I was going to do these, but I didn't write it down. But if I wrote it down, X3 bar pull day workout review, that's my gym one. Then at the same time, when I get back and I'm not really doing much except editing before the Big Fitness Show. So then I'm going to do that tutorial on Choppity. Then the third thing is recording the Big Fitness Show. Then I can literally go into Choppity and chop up all the shorts and do all that stuff. Yeah. But I think if I don't write that down, isn't it classic? Is it stoicism or I forget what it is, but basically if you complete 3 basic tasks, whether it's just even folding laundry or doing whatever, those 3 things, those basic, tasks that you need to complete, you've had a successful day, and everything after that's a bonus. So I don't know what way of thinking that is, but that could be what I'm doing, that I'm not writing, even sitting down with the iPad and writing out production notes or whatever. You left. Where did you go?
I switched this. I'm doing our new StreamYard thing.
Scared the hell out of me. As it came up, it didn't say recording.
Oh, got it. No, I just switched you back to full screen so we could get the full glory of what you were about to say.
Technology's frightened 52-year-old man. That'll be the title of this episode. What? The StreamYard. The StreamYard and the Twitter.
The StreamYard.
Yeah,
I'm back now.
Geez,
sorry.
That really startled me. I was like, what the hell? He left. Oh, well. Oh, StreamYard.
So yeah.
It's all mindset. I think that's what I'm going to hopefully get across to everybody out there. It is mindset. And of course, I'm hyper accountable. I never feel like I do enough. I always want to get ahead of everything in case, God forbid, that's whole spine infection thing,
Sure.
it almost put me so far behind business wise and content creation or everything.
Yeah.
So I think deep down, there's also that fear, like I got to stay ahead of everything because God forbid what'll happen. We all don't know, but it
Yeah.
could be a little bit of that paranoia that sets in as well.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think to what you were saying about the three things, um, accomplishing three things. There was we've talked about this before. It's called the full focus planner that I used to use, and I'm actually considering using it again, um, just to have that sensation of crossing off the tasks as you do it, right? Because there's a mental piece to it of when you make a list and you cross it off knowing that it's done, man, it's cool. I've shifted this last year. I shifted to just to save $40 of buying the journal and the full focus planner. I've shifted to doing it all digitally, and I've enjoyed that, and I've liked it a lot. And I have a folder in my notes app to where I have my main projects, and so I have the list of the projects, and in there I make notes of like why I'm doing this, what it's going to mean to me if I actually accomplish the project, and then when I'm finished with it, I'm able to cross it off, but I can't physically cross it off. So
Yeah.
it's almost like a letdown, because all I do is I drag it from one folder to the next, right? So when you're done with the task, it's cool and it's great to finish it and it's great to be done with it, but um there's something to that whole piece of paper. So I've been writing some stuff down lately and crossing it off. I have a calendar that I put in my office. I have a door over here that goes to the furnace room, but on that I have a calendar of the next 4 months. And to the side of it, I wrote down a list of my key projects that I'm working on so I can actually go back and cross those off when I'm finished with them. So there is something to that with the crossing them off. And then the full focus planner, the main thing that they talk about with the full focus planner is completing your big three. What are your big three tasks for the day? Everything else is a bonus. Everything else is on top of it. But if you can complete those big three tasks every day, you won the day, right? Even if it's just one, but the big three is the approach that they take. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why, we're both talking about the three things, but it's definitely a real deal, something to it.
Yeah. The one thing, and those are all excellent. And I've thought about getting the physical book and a journal because one of the things I want to do in 2024 is use technology more intentionally and not just sit here and
Mm,
scroll. And
yeah.
time is definitely money. Time is precious. There's a lot of different times. And maybe that's what we can talk about next. The time saving element. We talked about the computer, the turnaround time has increased my productivity immensely.
Hmm.
I look in the studio though, very blessed to have the space, but I look and say, okay, every time I got to switch from the big fitness show to the wrestling analysis channel, or if I got to do a fitness thing, can I create a setup where it's
Mm,
literally just all kind of the way it is and I don't have to switch? I can switch stuff minimally, but maybe I do get those impact variables, have everything hanging, and I just kind of slide it around. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I'm
Yeah.
looking at that because I eat up a lot of time with setup and breakdown and switching, and
Sure.
I'm sure you do the same thing. But there's a lot of time saving, like Choppity, we talked about it, just earlier, time saving tools that I'm willing to invest in or buy, or even the ones that are time sucks,
Yeah.
removing them,
Right.
removing everything. And I think that's a good segue to talk about some things you need to maybe subtract. And maybe we
Yeah.
can go back and forth about some real things we want to subtract and also give people a live assessment of the way we feel things are going in our lives and our business and all that stuff. So you're the guinea pig. I'll let you go first since I already bought this $4,000 worth of stuff. It's your turn.
Well, I mean, yeah, to your point, the removing things and creating a better utilization of the time is huge. That's something that I need to do. And it was what we were talking about right before we started recording. We were talking about me getting a new computer to streamline my workflow, to make it so that I can pump things out faster, because you've proven that the Mac Studio is a great computer to have, and it can allow for greater content production. Whereas I'm running on a MacBook Pro, which is a great computer, but it's an old Intel chip and it's not as fast as what you have. And so when I try to process the videos we do, or any of the videos, the computer just bogs down like crazy. And so it's not as big of a powerhouse. So for me, one of the biggest things that I need to remove as a bottleneck, and it's going to do both. It's going to remove a bottleneck and increase my time efficiency, is upgrade my computer. And so that I could just produce more quality, more content consistently, and not have that bottleneck of the computer just slowing me down all the time.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, it's been I don't like to spend money. I told you that off camera. I really hated spending the money, but the amount of content I'm able to turn around and not have to worry, and even rendering it, I can make the thumbnail. I can do things. I don't have to walk away because I have plenty of overhead with memory, CPU, GPU, even the ports. We talked about time saving. At least I know I don't have to switch stuff out, when I'm plugging the camera in, the microphone, all this stuff. I have enough ports to go around between this and the studio display. But this is also kind of, I guess, a double-edged sword. I've increased my turnaround time, which then I said, oh, wow, I can do Stevie Richards Fitness and upload this many videos per week. I can do Stevie Richards Wrestling Analysis and upload this many videos a week. I've always had in the back of my mind to bring back the tech channel. Now we brought back the tech channel. Oh, I can make some videos doing that. But now I feel like, have I bit off more than I can chew? And we'll get to the the tech channel is just, we talked about it. It's just kind of a hobby to keep myself sharp. I'm not taking it too seriously. Hopefully it grows for both of us and we can get some great equipment. But give me a minute to focus on the wrestling channel, which I've been so blessed that the initial reception of it was off the chart. Well, with that extreme high also comes a little bit of a letdown over time. There seems to be, I guess, in the world in general, that, hey, this is cool stuff I've never seen before, this content and the presentation, and it's not really so much burying people or being mean to people. It's trying to teach me something. All the channel over the past 30 days has taken a complete nosedive, 85 to 90% drop off in subscribers. I've lost subscribers, as a matter of fact, which is fine. I've lost watch time. Views are down to about 10 and 20 times less than normal videos. So used to get 6 figures, which is great. I'm not complaining. But in the assessment or the self-assessment of the channel, looking at the analytics, looking at all that stuff, everything I have checks out. Like from an analytics standpoint, SEO, even I was uploading too much, Mike, and they had recommended through vidIQ and other tools, you got long form content, this and that, maybe twice a week at the most, but once a week is the sweet spot. It's continuing to go down. So all I can think is that maybe the content in my mind needs to be retooled again, or maybe it's just, it fades no matter what. So do I continue to put that effort into the channel? Now, on the other hand, the Patreon doing very well. When someone's paying money for the content, I do feel a duty to put really good quality content. So on the positive end of that, the Patreon page is where I'm trying to create the Pat McAfee show. So maybe that's the retooling of the wrestling analysis. And on a side note on that, I've also looked at the fitness channel and said, all right, the review content is getting, some traction, some views, but that lighting video I did yesterday got received so well because I'm telling a story, but I'm kind of reviewing the lights that I'm using.
Sure.
So I'm like, do I tell a story and then bake the review in the story? It's very interesting. It's very telling to say. So I know I gave you a lot there. Give me your thoughts on what I said, though.
I mean, I think what you're doing is
I'm asking you. I'm not telling you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what you're doing is very smart to assess where you're at. And I think it's right in line with a checklist of figuring out where you should be. It's, the end of the year is a good time to take stock in what you're doing and everything that you're doing. And that's the whole point of what we're talking about today, is just to figure out what you need to do moving forward. And now's a perfect time to do that. And I think what you're doing with all the channels is really figuring out how you can optimize and which ones deserve the most of your attention, which ones, I've got this, I talk to a lot of people about this idea of low hanging fruit in life. There's low hanging fruit, and then there's high fruit, right? And so low hanging fruit, if you're in whatever your life is, where can you make the improvements? What's the lowest hanging fruit? That's the easiest thing for you to do to get traction. And so for you, some low hanging fruit with wrestling. You have a 30-year wrestling career. Clearly that was low hanging fruit. You're a brilliant mind in the world of professional wrestling. So you know what you're talking about. And so it was low hanging fruit for you to do a channel and to put that out and to do the content, because it married together all the things that you were good at, right? Technology, wrestling, and fitness, and all of it came together, and you had this low hanging fruit. But now you've got to look at, okay, well, this was low hanging fruit. I went after it. Is it still low hanging fruit, or is it too high? Is it not something that I want to chase? The technology piece, that is low hanging fruit because you're good at it. You know what you're talking about. You enjoy it. It's something you've been passionate about your whole life. So that was low hanging fruit. And so now let's stay there. The fitness, it's all low hanging fruit, but which one's the lowest? Which one's the easiest one to grab? And I think what you're doing is figuring that out. And in this time of year for the listeners is the perfect time to figure out what is the lowest hanging fruit for you to go after to improve your life. If that's buying a book that's going to help you live healthier, if that's going to a gym and getting a gym membership, is that some pretty low hanging fruit? Gym memberships are usually pretty cheap depending on the gym you go to. Maybe that's some super low hanging fruit that you can go after, but figure out which one's going to give you the best return on your investment. And I think that's where you're at right now, is which one of these, or maybe all of them, maybe you need to keep all of them. And it's which one's going to fill you most in here, but also help provide for your family and provide for your future and do all the things. And I think it's a tough spot that you're in, but it's a tough spot for everybody figuring out where you want to go. If you don't know, I spent so much time trying to figure out where I want to go. And I have a general idea, but then I question it. Right. But like, I think what you're doing is great for figuring out how to assess moving forward. And I think all the listeners can take a lesson from what you're doing of assessing it and seeing what makes the most sense moving forward.
Yeah. I'll make one point and then I want to go back to you because I want to hear your story. Maybe there's something this year that you kind of, you know what I mean? You're struggling with.
Sure.
I want to hear about that. But for people out there saying, well, okay, 3 YouTube channels and you're getting subscribers and this and that, there's an obvious business element to this. There's a lot of, the fitness is based on affiliate business. Of course, I've reviewed the stuff I like and use anyway. So it's very easy to tell the truth and then try to convert affiliate business, affiliate sales. That's what those links and codes in both of our descriptions are all about. The YouTube channel is a promotional tool for our affiliate business. That's just the reality of it. Now, we don't BS anybody. We don't lie. You just put up something about that plant-based protein that's probably going to go up on the YouTube channel as well, that you need to tell people this is kind of borderline snake oil that you're buying. So with that being said, time is money no matter what, the computer stuff and also the time and what you're creating with videos like we talk about, you with X Endurance, CrossFit, and all your stuff on the channel. Where do you see, like in 2024, that you want to put more of your time and effort into? You have a family, so it's even more limited than my time.
Sure. Yeah. That's the hardest part for me, is figuring out the time of where I should put my time. And as entrepreneurs, it makes it even harder because you don't have somebody telling you what to do. You don't have somebody telling you from a career perspective what makes the most sense. And so for me, my biggest struggle is that exact thing of knowing where to put my time. And so that's the biggest thing that I want to work on, is taking that clear path. I know some of the goals that I want to accomplish. I know that the Big Mike Barron's brand has to be, without a doubt, my number one focus from a career perspective. And I have a lot of credibility that I always sell myself short on, because I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I know what I'm doing. But no, genuinely, I'm very credible. I'm good at what I do. I'm very smart in what I bring to the table in the world of fitness and supplementation and nutrition and things like that. And so for me, I have the goals. It's sticking to them and not getting distracted by potentially low hanging fruit that doesn't serve my ultimate goal. Right. And this is where I get in the mindset of, or this is where I have to remove the bottlenecks and cut out the stuff that's not serving me, because a lot of times I will, because I'm I try to be a good person and I try to help people as much as I can. I'll help people that aren't ultimately serving the end goal and get me completely distracted. That sounds really bad the way I just said that, but it's not that I am against helping people, because I want to help people, but I lose sight of what's most important. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is my family, and everything that I do needs to serve them, not other people's families, right? Like my family first. It's not that I don't want to help other people. It's that I need to serve my family first. And sometimes I'm guilty of serving others because it makes me feel good to serve others before I serve my family. And so, to answer your question in a roundabout way, being focused on my goals and staying as consistent as humanly possible in chasing the goals that I've set out and not getting distracted with stuff is like my biggest priority. And that's why I take these times to sit down and focus in and take that time to write down my goals so that I know what I can do. And one of the things that I've found that helps me with that, helps me stay focused, is writing down all my goals. And so then I have this list of all the things that I want to accomplish. And then when I sort them and categorize them, it's like, okay, these are the priority. Do these. And then you can do these fun ones over here, right? Like get these done. And then you can get to this someday maybe list that you have to accomplish. And so that has helped me a ton with staying on track. It's just not letting other things come in and distract me that I need to work on.
You ready to lose most of our viewers and listeners right about now? What I'm about to say.
Sure.
Yeah, he's as scared as my wife when I talked in the RV.
Yeah, great.
I know. My wife and I watched the Hallmark Channel. That should take away every bit of credibility. Then.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
They're big in the Hallmark Channel universe. In almost every movie, somebody has a vision board. But I'm not gonna dog it because it's something more visual. You're talking about a checklist, but a vision board or something along that lines where you could literally put, you want to go see the Northern Lights? Here's a photo of the Northern Lights. You want to go and you want to buy a certain car or home, you want to have a homestead, or even putting up a piece of land that has 10 acres, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. That is very powerful for you to walk by in your office or the living room or the kitchen and see, this is what we're envisioning for the next year or whatever it might be. I think that, writing it down is one thing, but visual aids for people who don't like the, I'm not a great reader either, but putting that up there and taking a picture and cutting it out and throwing up on a board could be very beneficial, because that speaks to you. And now you're walking by it every single day. Yeah. That's what I see.
Yeah. I think that creating a vision board.
How many did we lose off of that?
If we did, fine. See you. But like a vision board is something that I've made a physical vision board before, but I have one on my phone that I keep, that it's my vision board for my phone. And I'll put pictures in there of things that I see.
Oh, is there an app for it? There's an app for that?
No, I just do a photo album in my Photos app. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then I can scroll and I can see that it's, like I'll put inspiration.
I'm trying to get away from technology. But, is there an app?
Good point.
Good Lord. I'm so indoctrinated.
That's a good point. Well, another thing too that I'll do along the lines of a vision board is I have whiteboards and I'll write down my goals. So I've got 2 whiteboards that I use for processing things and that get cleaned off all the time and whatever. But then I have another whiteboard that just is my goals for the year, and I just write them down and then I cross them off as I go, and it stays and it doesn't change until that list is clean, and then I reevaluate and rewrite and whatever, depending on what it is. But I think there's a lot to the vision board approach of getting prepared for 2024 for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's go. Maybe we finish off this episode with maybe not even the top 3. What do you think is the most important thing for you to maybe not accomplish, but what is the most important thing that you see that could be completely a 180 from 2023, that this is going to be the year that I turn that around and and I can have that breakthrough.
Ooh.
So I made you go first.
Ooh. To be real, not that I'm not real all the time, eliminating my self-doubt. That would pretty much be a complete 180 from where I've spent a lot of 2023. What about you?
Well, I just to let you know, I'm here for you, man, and that's
I know you
probably
are.
what God made us friends, and we came together basically before the well, the end of last year, and then the beginning of next whatever year. God, what year is it? CTE kicked in. 2023. That's where we lifted each other up, man. So I have
Yeah.
to say, I'll say it again at the end, man. I'm so happy to have you as not as a friend, but as a brother that can
Same.
lift me up, give me direction, and also protect me from my own self doubt because I have the same issues that you have. All pro wrestlers are insane, so that sums it up for everybody. For me on my end, and I'll continue to do that in 2024 until you get rid of me
I
as
know.
a friend. I'll be here for
I
you.
know. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm not getting rid of you. You're stuck with me, dude.
Good. Stuck with each other, man. That is a tough one. I gave myself time to think, and I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah.
That's also my number one thing is that I'm way too hard on myself.
Hmm.
But I think in 2024, I think I want to enjoy life more. And I
Hmm.
know after the spine infection, I got into that super hyper, so grateful and thankful, and then human nature kicks in
Yeah.
and takes over. And then you
Sure.
start to look at what you don't have, and you start to compare, and you start to be way too hard on yourself. And of course, I'm actionable off of that. I don't just sit there and wait for the call. You and
Yeah.
I are acting on it to overcome the self doubt, to overcome the negative parts of ourselves, that little devil on our shoulders telling we can't do
Right.
it. But I'm not enjoying the journey.
Hmm.
So that's how I would sum that up.
Yeah.
I'm not in the moment. I'm always planning, and for as much as I adapt and everything, I'm always planning and trying to figure out and trying to say where it's going to be in the next month. And with getting back in the reading devotionals and reading the Bible, it's like, why are you worried about tomorrow?
Yeah.
Live for today, enjoy today. And I
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm honoring God, I'm honoring my family, I'm honoring you, my friends, or anybody else by enjoying the moments, like even doing this
Mhm.
show for 47 minutes and just being in
Yeah.
the moment. There's that part of me is like, okay, now after we're done here at 11 o'clock, I got to do it's, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm missing out on the best parts of life. And I got
Yeah.
a second chance to live again, not just kind of survive, to
Sure.
literally almost maybe be in better shape than before the infection.
Sure.
That's an
Sure.
immense blessing. Why am I not enjoying that?
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I would do. I would enjoy the journey, embrace the journey, and then if it warrants it, without putting the cart before the horse or the camera before the experience, share the journey.
Mm.
But that has to come after actually enjoying, embracing, and being with the people I love during the journey. And then if it warrants a clip or a video, or fine, but that
Yeah.
doesn't come before the actual experience of it.
That's good, man. That's real good. That's good. That's good. All right. Well, okay. Speaking of moving into 2024, next week's episode, we're going to talk about our goals. We're going to share some of our goals, and then maybe the listeners can hold us accountable.
Hey, by the way, while I'm thinking about it,
Yeah.
please email us the big fitness show@gmail.com. Also, leave a voicemail. We can play voicemails here. You can leave
Yeah.
the voicemail through Spotify. We want to hear what's held you back in 2023. What's your checklist for 2024? Then in next week's episode, we'll put out the call to action. Tell us what your goals are for 2024. We
Love that.
love interaction. We want more of it. Want to hear from me. We don't like hearing our own voices after
Yeah.
49 minutes. So sorry to cut you off. Please,
Yeah. No, it's
the,
good, man.
the interaction is super important. If you think you're alone, you're not. What you say and what you ask, guarantee a ton of people out there have the same question.
Yep. Totally. 100%. Yep. No, that's awesome, man. It's a great way to wrap this up. I was just going to do a quick little recap on some of the things that we said for a checklist. Take stock of where you're at, assess what you've accomplished over the last year, make a list of where you want to go, start to figure out what those daily habits are to get you there. Focus on removing the bottlenecks in your life, work to increase your time efficiency, cut the things out that aren't serving you, and create a vision board, because that's the way to win.
Wow.
I said it.
Wow, one of us doesn't have CTE yet. Man, you have a great recall.
I
That's
wrote it all
awesome.
down while we were talking.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go. That makes sense
So,
now.
with that, everyone, I do not have CTE, at least not to the extent that Stevie does. So pray for him so that it keeps getting better and better, and we keep him clear with his thoughts. But for this week's episode of the Big Fitness Show, I appreciate you all for tuning in. We both appreciate you very much for tuning in. If you got some value from this, share it with somebody who might get some value, and we will see you in next week's episode. I did that wrong. For myself and for Big Stevie Cool, getting bigger every day, hopefully. We'll see. Oh, look at that, jacked. We'll see you in the next episode, everybody. Thanks.
I almost cried too, by the way.